fourth grade. Welcome to the second to the last installment of What's His Face. We are on chapter 22, Silence. The quiet is hard to get used to. For weeks, Roddy's voice had been a constant companion. With the earbud, it's almost as if the ghost can speak directly into Cooper's brain. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between Roddy's words and Cooper's own thoughts. And now, silence. Of course, Roddy hadn't been silent. The earbud in Cooper's pocket worked overtime until he remembered to turn it off. The difference is that, on or off, Cooper is ignoring it. He feels guilty about that, even sad. But it's what he has to do. He's always known the ghost presence inside the phone is a paranormal occurrence. But until the attack on Brock, he never realized how dangerous Roddy could be. Friend or no, Roddy is a supernatural being who doesn't belong in the 21st century. And the fact that he doesn't understand that he did anything wrong only underscores the danger. Cooper realizes he's just putting off the problem. Tomorrow, when the 7th graders take their final vow, at the end of Romeo and Juliet, he will still have a ghost in his phone, and he will have to figure out what to do about it. The danger of Roddy will not disappear. For all Cooper knows, it might even get worse. Roddy has already taught himself how to pop in and out of the phone at will, and to stay in the real world for longer and longer periods. Who knows what he might learn next? Cooper believes with all of his heart that Roddy is not a bad person, and whatever harm he does is not truly evil, but maybe that can change too. With the earbud off and the GX 4000 volume on 0, Roddy's voice has been muted. One positive benefit: Cooper doesn't have to worry about the ghost distracting him while he's trying to act, but it also means Roddy won't be there to prompt him if Cooper forgets a line. Having the playwright himself inside your head is a powerful resource. By this time, though, Cooper's mastery of Romeo's part is 100%. He won't need Roddy's help. He won't need anybody's. Still, throughout the dress rehearsals on Friday, Cooper couldn't help checking on the ghost every now and then to make sure he's all right. If that can ever be said about someone who's been dead for over 400 years. Roddy's always there. Where else would he be? With the masking tape trapping him inside the phone. His mouth is moving, his expression pleading. His gestures are increasingly agitated. Cooper feels terrible, but he has to stay strong, at least until the play is over. On Friday night, the final run-through is a huge success. The actors deliver their lines crisply, and no one stumbles over the unfamiliar Shakespearean language. At this point, they've been rehearsing so long that the words come naturally to them. The forsooths, and verilies, and the methinks. The costumes have been altered and tweaked. Everything fits perfect. The crew expertly rolls the large set pieces on and off the stage, and the lighting changes happen easily and flawlessly. When the narrator speaks the final words, cast and crew flood the stage. Cooper and Jolie are yanked up from their funeral slabs and battered with high fives and back slaps of congratulation. For Cooper, the transformation is complete. It stretches far beyond just the play. In the halls at school, on the street, in town, he gets a friendly wave and a "Hi, Cooper." That's never happened anywhere else, much less in Stratford's 6th grade. Sixth graders treat him like a hero. 8th graders talk to him. He belongs. Something an army brat doesn't experience very often. He's Romeo, but he's something more. He's Cooper. Mr. Marchese is all smiles. Excellent work, people. If we can replicate this performance tomorrow, we'll knock Mr. Wolfson's socks off. And obviously, he adds as an afterthought, your families, neighbors, and friends. Even on the walk home, which she traded Juliet's gown for a Cape Canaveral Space Camp t-shirt, Jolie is still glowing. One time, we went skiing in Utah, she raves. When my dad wasn't looking, I went over this jump. There I was, high above the mountain, catching air. I could even see my dad pointing at me and yelling. What a thrill. What was your dad yelling? Cooper said. You're grounded, Missy, she giggles. And I was, for a month. But it was totally worth it. That's how I feel about the play. When I'm out there on stage, it's just me. It's just as much of a rush. It's a rush for me too, Cooper tells her. It's not exactly true. But since they're never going to share the ski jump, they might as well share acting. You were amazing, Cooper, she said emotionally. The way you stepped in and took over Romeo, our play would never be this good if... Her voice trails off, and he can tell she feels disloyal to the last Romeo, the one who would be standing in Cooper's shoes right now if Roddy hadn't taken matters into his own ghostly hands. Brock would have been really great too, Cooper offers. Another lie, but it seems like the right thing to do. Jolie reaches out and hugs him, squeezing just a little bit longer than he expected. A whole Mississippi and a half. Maybe two. He's hyper aware of the sequin stars on her shirt pressing against him. You're a good person, Cooper, she said. Then she runs off towards home, leaving him standing on his front walk, grinning like he'd lost his mind. His first impulse was to tell Roddy, which brings him back to earth with a sobering thud. Roddy should hear about a lot of things. Cooper and Jolie, the last dress rehearsal. The ghost deserves to know about the play more than anybody. It's his play most of all. Cooper lets himself into the house. His parents are in the living room. They ask him a few questions about rehearsal, but they're more interested in the movie they're watching. Veronica's on a date with Chad, no big surprise. They're probably out buying smoothies or baby food so Brock won't starve to death. Upstairs in his room, Cooper stares at the four walls. He suddenly feels as lonely as he's ever been. It makes no sense. Who spends more time alone than Cooper? Who changes towns and schools as often as some people change their socks? He can't count the number of places he lived where he's gone before making a single friend. Excuse me. This is different. He has friends. He might even be on the way to a girlfriend. He's at the very center of the biggest thing in the 7th grade, the annual Shakespeare play. He could complain about loneliness in those other towns, but not here. Sure, it was a rocky start at Stratford, but the transformation from WhatHisFace to Romeo is complete. So what's the problem? He thinks about it a second more, and the answer comes easy. In the beginning, when there was no one else, there was the ghost of Roderick Northrop. No town, no play, no friends or even girlfriend could replace that. He pulls the GX 4000 out of his pocket and watches numbly as the worn piece of masking tape comes off the rear camera and flutters to the floor. Before Cooper is able to process what this might mean, he hears the click. Roddy's spectral form explodes out of the phone and circles the room in dizzying speeds just below the ceiling. Roddy, Cooper breathes. The ghost. slows just enough to glare at him before swooping low and disappearing through the crack under the door. Cooper barrels into the hall in time to see Roddy streak down the steps, darting like a lightning through every room in the house. "What was that?" Mrs. Vega asked from the living room. "Probably just a moth," her husband reassures her. "I'll get a magazine and teach it some manners." Heart pounding, Cooper races downstairs, although he's not sure what he plans to do when he comes face to face with the ghost. It's not as if he can catch Roddy with a butterfly net. He might as well be chasing moonbeams. Outside the kitchen, his father hands him a copy of National Geographic. "If you see a giant moth, clobber it." Cooper nods dizzily. At the moment, the moth is sitting on a blade of the ceiling fan, shaking his fist at them. Cooper shoots him a pleading glass, but Roddy is too angry to be reasonable. He streaks across the front hall and disappears through the mail slot. Cooper fights off the impulse to run outside and chase him through the neighborhood. He'd never be able to explain that to his parents, not at 10:30 at night. He does the only sensible thing. He goes back upstairs to his room, opens the window a crack, and sits on the edge of his bed with the phone in his hand. Sooner or later, the ghost will be drawn back to the GX4000. All Cooper has to do is wait. There's no telling how long that will be. It's gone way beyond counting Mississippi's. A full 20 minutes has passed when Roddy's shimmering figure is finally wrenched in under the window sash and slammed into the phone. Almost immediately, there's another click. But Cooper is expecting it and already has his thumb blocking the rear camera. "Roddy, wait." The ghost appears on the screen, wild-eyed, disheveled, and out of breath. "Release me," he demands in a frantic tone. "Not till we talk this out. Thou hast betrayed my trust," Roddy accuses, "after I meant thee nothing but good." "I know. I'm sorry. It's just..." Cooper struggles to find the right words. "Your century and mine, they don't mix. I totally get that you are only trying to help me." The ghost does not reply, but he's listening. Cooper forges on. "I'm going to let go of the lens now, but you have to promise to stay with me, okay?" He removes his thumb from the lens. There's no click. Cooper is still there. Roddy is still there. Cooper sighs with relief. "Thanks for trusting me." "What choice do I have?" Roddy returns it bitterly. "'Tis never long before that phone has thine drawn me back to my prison." "That's what we have to talk about," Cooper tells him. "I know it's not fair, but we're stuck together, you to the phone and me to you. Thou hast my most sincere sympathy." Sarcasm drips from the ghost's words. "Thou least in a world of marvels, with a mother and a father who care for thee. Food doth thou taste, and cold wind bloweth through thy abundant hair. And I? There's no down, no up. I'm not dead, neither do I live. Would that my brilliant father never invented this vile device you callest a phone." "He didn't, Roddy. The telephone was invented by a guy named Alexander Graham Bell." Roddy is stubborn. "Thou hast just explained my purpose in this strange place. I must reclaim the reputation of my illustrious sire from thieves like Alexander Graham Bell. Where is he that I might confront him?" Cooper shakes his head. "It's no good. He died a long time ago." "So did I," the ghost points out. "Yeah, but he isn't in anybody's phone. At least, I don't think so. Listen, Roddy, you are probably going to hate me for this, but it's the truth. You're not here to reclaim your father's reputation, because your father doesn't have a reputation to reclaim. He didn't invent any of the things you say he did. Not the TV, not the school bus, not even the garden gnome. He hasn't been forgotten. Nobody knew about him in the first place. I'm sure he was a great dad, but that's all he was. To believe that you are here to get justice for him is nuts. It would make just as much sense, more really, if the person who needed justice was. When the idea forms in Cooper's mind, he's so shocked that he falls silent right in the middle of a sentence. Roddy is white-faced and tight-lipped on the small screen. Please, go on, Cooper Vega. There is still my mother thou hast not yet insulted, and perhaps my grandparents, though I knew them not. Roddy. Cooper's voice is breathless with urgency. What if you're not here to fix your dad's reputation? What if you're here to fix your own? What reputation have I? Roddy asked resentfully. I am but a poor boy, too soon an orphan, too soon a corpse. You're the true author of one of the most famous plays ever written, Cooper persists. Shakespeare ripped it off. But that doesn't change the fact that it's yours. And a fat lot I can do about that, the ghost laments. Shakespeare is as dead as I am. He hath not a BMX bicycle from whence to unseat him. Forget Shakespeare. He's out of reach, Cooper explains. What if the reason you're here is to claim credit that was stolen from you? Maybe it's not a coincidence that out of all the phones in the world, you ended up in mine. A kid whose school is doing Romeo and Juliet, in the very same town where your original manuscript is locked away in a secret room in the Wolf's Museum. Thy argument hath merit, Roddy concedes. What is thy plan that I shall be credited as the author of Barnabas and Ursula? I'll talk to Mr. Wolfson when he's at school for the play. I'll tell him we know about the manuscript and demand that he show it to the world. It'll be in your handwriting, not Shakespeare's, which will prove. It will prove nothing, the ghost cuts in, because the wolf will reveal it to no one. Why should he? Thou art but a boy, no older than was I when the plague bore me off, and vile Shakespeare presented my play to the world. Cooper nods glumly, so we're right back to where we started from. Cooper Vega, dost thou not see? The ghost crows. We must remove Barnabas and Ursula from the museum. No man can deny its meaning when he beholdeth it with his own eyes. Cooper is appalled. That's stealing. Nay, Roddy reasons, it was stolen from me. It was stolen from the world when the wolf locked it away. But I cannot steal what is rightfully mine. It doesn't matter, Cooper tells him. The wolf has millions of dollars worth of stuff in that museum. No way does he leave the place open for anybody to waltz in and help themselves. There are employees, guards, probably a burglar alarm. That's no trouble for me, Roddy points out, because you're a cloud. Besides, what good is it if you're to get in there? You can't pick up the manuscript and run off with it. You'll need me for that, and I don't fit through the keyhole or under doors. A trained security guy is going to notice me standing there trying to pick the lock. 'Twas no trouble for me, Roddy points out. No need to concern thyself with such insignificant details, the ghost exclaims. Thou shalt have it with thee, the son of the greatest scientific mind in the 16th century. With my father's genius, we shall devise a strategy that is quick and simple and foolproof. No way, Roddy. You're a ghost. There's nothing solid about you that they can throw in jail. I'm the one who's going to get arrested for breaking into Mr. Wilson's museum. It will not happen, Roddy assures him. We are the perfect team, thou and I. Thou shalt be my hands as I cannot grasp, and I shall be thine eyes to warn thee of any approaching danger. Cooper is unconvinced. There must be some other way. Maybe I should go to the police. They could order the wolf to hand over the manuscript, or my dad. He has all kinds of contacts in the military. Thou hast already concluded thou would not be believed, and if I am revealed, thou hast warned the scientists would dismantle the phone, leaving me where? This is the only way. Cooper stared at the ghost's pleading expression on the screen. This relic of bygone era honestly expects him to go out and commit grand larceny. Unbelievable. And yet it's still not half as unbelievable as the simple reality that Roddy's in the phone in the first place. How can anything be expected to make sense when that's what you're starting out with? The facts, crazy as they were, swirled around Cooper's head as he struggles to put them together in some form of logical order. Roddy, his stolen play, and the proof of it locked away in the Wolfson's museum. If Cooper's right, and Roddy proposes in the 21st century is to claim credit for Romeo and Juliet, how can Cooper deny him the help that he needs? Cooper Vega, I beg you, the ghost pleads. By our friendship. That's what settled it for Cooper. As important as all this sounds, one thing makes perfect sense. The two of them are friends. And friends don't let each other down. All right, he says. What do I have to do? Chapter 23. 14 minutes and 11 seconds. Curtain time for Romeo and Juliet is at 1 p.m. Call for the cast is at 11:30. That's when costumes will be put on, makeup will be applied, and last-minute pep talks will be delivered. Every second of the past 6 weeks of rehearsal have been building up to this moment. Showtime. Soon, Stratford Middle School will be a beehive of activity, the center of the local universe. Shortly after 9 a.m., however, the building is deserted except for 2 people in the chem lab. Actually, 1 person and 1 ghost. An assortment of beakers, test tubes, and stopped bottles is spread across the experiment table. I hope you know what you're doing, Cooper says. If this is another one of your brimstone stink bombs, remember the whole town is going to be here in a few hours. We've worked too hard and too long to have Romeo and Juliet canceled because of a rotten egg smell. Fear not, Roddy soothes via the earbud. This formula calls for no brimstone. Yeah, well, the fumes are pretty nasty just the same. Wincing, Cooper waves the eyedropper under his nose. A little bubble of liquid squeezes out of the opening and hits the table. With a hissing sound and a wisp of smoke, the liquid eats into the countertops, creating a divot half an inch deep. Roddy, Cooper exclaims in horror. Something's wrong. You broke the school again. Nothing's wrong, Cooper Vega, the ghost assures him. This is the mixture's purpose. When the constables arrest my father, I would follow him to their jails. Just a droplet of this powerful acid burneth through the locks, and he would be free. The question is, will it burneth through the bottle? Because then it would just as easily burneth through my hand. Fear not, Roddy assures him, for glass is immune to the acid's effect. That is why the mixture was so well suited for my father's purpose, and to ours today. Holding the bottle gingerly, between 2 nerveless fingers, Cooper slides it into the side pocket of his backpack. He puts away the chemicals, powder, and equipment, carefully cleaning up after himself. Shrugging into the pack, he steps out of the science room and very nearly comes face to face with Mr. Marchese, who is striding purposely down the hall. Misstep. Cooper executes an emergency 180 and stumbles back into the lab, flattening himself against the wall. Stupid, stupid, stupid not to anticipate that Romeo and Juliet director would be an extra early on show day. How will Cooper ever explain what he's doing in the school more than 2 hours before call time? Especially if Mr. Marchese noticed the crater in the middle of the experiment table. Cooper holds his breath as the director approaches. The footsteps on the terrazzo floor grow louder until they're practically gunshots. Mr. Marchese marches past the lab and continues on down the hall in the direction of the gym. Stunned with relief, Cooper peers through the doorway at the teacher's receding back. The man's head is down and he's walking quickly. He's so focused on today's play that he didn't notice one of his stars is in the wrong place at the wrong time. Is something the matter, Cooper Vega? Comes Roddy's voice in his ear. Thy breathing is not natural to thee. Cooper waits for the director to disappear through the heavy gym doors at the end of the hallway before replying. It's nothing. Everything's okay. If he can't even make it in and out of the science lab without coming within a hair of being caught, how can he expect to pull off the heist of the century, stealing a priceless masterpiece from a billionaire's maximum security museum? On the lookout for other early bird teachers, Cooper leaves the school and gets on his bike. The Wolfson property isn't far to drive, but it's a major effort when you're pedaling, especially on the rolling terrain of the town that used to be 3 hills. 45 minutes have passed, and Cooper is bathed in sweat before the wrought iron gates heave into view. Short of the entrance to the estate, Cooper veers off the road, tires crunching on the gravel of the shoulder. He stashes his bike in the cover of the woods and pulls the GX4000 from his phone. All right, Roddy, here's your first scouting mission. He taps the screen and the image searches the page for keyword surveillance cameras. We need to know if there's anything that looks like one of those on the Woodson's property. It could be high up, attached to a wall or maybe a tree. And also this. He changes the keyword to motion detector, and a new set of pictures is displayed. Got it? I understand. And with a click, the ghost rises from the phone and sails over the gate onto the grounds of the estate. At first, Cooper can make out Roddy's shimmering features, scanning the property below. Soon, though, his form disappears into the brilliant sunlight. The ghost is only gone for a few minutes, but to Cooper it feels like hours. The reality of what he is about to do is starting to sink in, and it gives him stomach cramps. The downside of partnering with Roddy is that during the planning stage, it's all we and us. But if anything goes wrong, that us turns it into 100% me. Nobody's going to arrest a ghost and march him off to juvenile hall. And there's nothing he can do to help me if it happens, because they don't allow phones in jail. Cooper is still twisting and turning the what-ifs when Roddy returns to the phone. Methink thou art good to go. Cameras there are many, but with stealth thou mayest avoid them. I shall instruct thee. So that's it then. Are you ready? I've been ready for 400 years, the ghost replies. The wrought iron gate is 20 feet high, but the stone wall that surrounds the property is only 5. Cooper scampers over that and sets out for the E-shaped palace that houses the collection. Every step towards the building feels like a trip into quicksand. His footsteps the word why in his head. Rightward ho, Roddy advises through the earbud. A camera is nigh. Cooper adjusts his course, crouches low along a neatly sculptured hedge. As he passes the mansion, he's terrified to think the wolf is in there somewhere. A powerful man who's got a whole town to change its name and probably won't take kindly to the idea of having his greatest treasures plundered by a 12-year-old kid. A classic Rolls Royce is parked on the circular drive. That car, Cooper notes, will soon be taking Mr. Wilson to the middle school for Romeo and Juliet. That is, assuming Romeo isn't in prison by curtain time. Quarter mile further down the lane, the museum beckons. Cooper can see the Globe Theater replica behind it, and as he approaches, he can make out another of the many security cameras at the main entrance. He isn't worried about that. The front door was never part of the plan. Their destination, the far side of the building, out of view of the Wolf's mansion. Thou art rocking, Cooper Vega. Roddy's voice sounds in his ear. We're there, Cooper agrees tensely, rounding the corner of the museum. He shrugs out of his backpack, sets it down in front of a low window. Time to go to work. With a click, Roddy is out of the phone again. The ghost does a quick circle to get his bearings and then squeezes in through a tiny space between the frame and the brick. A second later, Roddy's form is bobbing on the opposite side of the glass, grinning and flashing him a thumbs up. Then he's gone on another scouting mission, swooping through the endless museum galleries. Cooper cools his heels, trying to remain calm. He'd feel a little bit more comfortable if Roddy didn't seem to be having so much fun. Then again, the poor guy didn't have much going on for the past 4 centuries, so he can't be blamed for strutting his stuff a little. Roddy is back quickly. Evil tidings, Cooper Vega, he reports breathlessly. There's a watchman, and he cometh this way. As if on clue, a uniformed security guard, an overweight man with a bushy mustache, enters the gallery, twirling a heavy key around his index finger. Cooper drops to his knees underneath the window. The hefty man crosses the gallery, glancing with very little interest at the displays from the English town of Stratford-upon-Avon, where Shakespeare was born and later retired after his career in the London theatre. He pauses at the doorway, gives a brief final survey of the room, and moves on to the next gallery. He's gone, Roddy exclaims. Now is the moment to begin. Not yet, Cooper whispers. Let's see how long it takes for him to make a full circuit of the museum, then come back here. Then we'll know how much time we have. Thou hast great wisdom, Roddy proves with surprise. 'Tis clear why fair Jolie prefereth thee over the lummox. No, Cooper replies bitterly. She prefereth me because you threw the lummox off his bike and bashed his face in. He sets the phone on stopwatch mode and starts the counter. The wait seems endless. It's doubly agonizing since Cooper knows he has a 45-minute bike ride back to the town where he is due at the school for his 11:30 cast call. Yet he also understands that it's a good thing. It might give them a decent amount of time to break into the secret gallery, jack Roddy's manuscript, and get out of the building before the big man comes around again. Cooper's eyes are on the small screen. The numbers roll higher. When the security guard reappears in the gallery, Cooper halts the timer. The stopwatch shows 14 minutes and 11 seconds. We can do this, Cooper Vega, Roddy exclaims. There's ample time. Cooper swallows hard. Ample, maybe, but not a second to spare. He sets the timer back to 0 and restarts it. 14 minutes. The clock is ticking. He examines the window, takes note of the tiny wire emerging from the brick and disappearing into the frame. An alarm? Probably triggered when anyone tries to open the window. Luckily, Cooper has prepared for that possibility thanks to all the cop dramas Roddy has been watching on TV. Putting the GX 4000 in the branches of a bush so the ghost can watch, Cooper unzips his backpack, draws out a toilet plunger from the downstairs bathroom in his home. Dampening the rim with a moist wipe, he holds it firmly against the glass and pushes until, with a slurping sound, it sticks. A device of infinite utility, Roddy approves from his vantage point. Not merely does it help chamber pops to empty themselves, its purposes are truly beyond limit. This is the important part. From the smaller compartment, Cooper removes a pen-sized glass cutter, giving silent thanks to his father's bottomless toolbox. Cooper used to laugh at Captain Vega's belief that everything comes in handy sooner or later. Not anymore. Focusing all his strength on maintaining a steady hand, he digs the blade into the glass and draws it around across the window, following the inside of the metal frame. It's hard work, and sweat trickles into his stinging eyes as he cuts a large rectangular panel. Then, using the plunger, he draws the glass out of the window. No alarm sound. As far as any security system can tell, the window is untouched. "How now, Roddy?" exclaims. Throwing the backpack over his shoulder, Cooper picks up the phone, steps in through the opening in the window. He originally planned to replace the glass panel, but that would take too much time. A quick glance at the stopwatch on his phone reveals he's already down to 10 minutes. "Make haste," the ghost urges. Following the direction of the security guard's circuit, Cooper moves from room to room through the half-light of the closed museum until he reaches the gallery where the first folios are displayed. And there it is, on the interior wall. The door Roddy perpetrated during the 7th grade field trip. The one leading to the secret collection. Cooper checks the GX 4000. 8 minutes and 42 seconds left. Unable to contain himself, the ghost bursts out of the phone and disappears in through the keyhole. He is back in a matter of seconds. "'Tis there, Cooper Veger, just as before, my Barnabas and Ursula. Thou hast but to enter and claim it." Just standing in the museum, knowing there's a guard somewhere around, is twisting Cooper's stomach in knots. "Calm down," he tells himself. "You've worked this out. You have more than 8 minutes." From the backpack side pocket, he removes a small bottle of acid. He unscrews the dropper, sucks up the liquid, and fits the glass tip into the keyhole. Breathing a silent prayer, he squeezes the bulb. A faint sizzling sound comes from inside the lock. A wisp of smoke wafts out of the keyhole. He tries the knob. It doesn't budge. "How long before it burns through the lock?" he whispers. "Merely an instant." Cooper twists at the knob again. 0 movement. "Introduce more of the acid," the ghost urges. This time, Cooper fills the dropper completely and empties the entire content into the lock. More smoke, more sizzle. But the doorknob won't turn. Curious, is Roddy's opinion. It hath never failed before. "Yeah, in 16th century locks," Cooper hisses. "They've learned a few things in the past 400 years, like how to make them acid-proof. progress hasn't been all school buses and chamber pots, you know. He barely slaps himself. Barely stops himself from slapping his forehead in dismay, which would have emptied the rest of the bottle over his head. Yikes. Maybe the acid can't open locks, but would have a little trouble burning through his skull down to his brain. Desperate now, the stopwatch shows under 4 minutes. Cooper tries one more dropper full of acid. Same result. None at all. In a last-ditch effort, he heaves his shoulder into the door, hoping that the weakened lock might give way. Nothing. Then, a deep voice calls, "Is someone there?" That will be it for today. The next episode will follow after this one, and we'll find out what happens.